So, my dear children, I would like to welcome all of you to this EDUSAT English teleteaching program. So, I think you are all fine today and you will be very much interested to listen to our grammar class. We will today discuss the second part of the chapter noun clauses. Before going to discuss something about the Nobel Prizes, you just look at the diagram and we can have a recap of the previous discussion. We have already discussed a sentence can be divided under two parts, one clause and more than one clause. We have already discussed these things, and one clause is called a simple sentence, and when we have more than one clause, we have two types of sentences, compound sentences and complex sentences. In compound sentences, we have independent clauses and they are joined by coordinators, and in case of complex sentences, we have main clauses and some subordinate clauses. In a sentence, we may have one subordinate clause or more than one subordinate clauses, right. So, you just see complex sentences, one main clause, one or more subordinate clauses, and these subordinate clauses may be noun clauses, may be relative clauses, may be also adverb clauses, right. And now you come to the Nobel Prizes. Number 1, do you know that 603 times Nobel Prizes have been awarded in memory of Alfred Nobel between 1901 and 2020, right. The news that the Nobel Prize in Literature 1913 was awarded to Rabindranath Tagore was very great news for the Indians in the British period. Number 3, that C.V. Raman was the Nobel Prize winner for physics in 1930 is well known to every Indian. Now, you come to sentence number 1. Do you know that 603 times Nobel Prizes have been awarded in memory of Alfred Nobel between 1901 and 2020. So, do you know this is the first part, main clause, and then the clause begins with a relative pronoun that, and that is again a noun clause. Why this is noun clause? The question is why we should not say this is a relative clause or we cannot say this is an adverb clause, but this is a noun clause. What is the cause behind it? So, I have already told you, when a sentence comes with a verb or is used with a verb no, the main verb, then definitely no verb requires an object. I know something, I know a story, I know this. So, I know that Nobel Prizes have been awarded 603 times in the memory of Alfred Nobel, right. So, do you know, this is the first part, and the second part begins with that is a noun clause and it functions like an object. In the second sentence, the news that the Nobel Prize in Literature 1913 was awarded to Rabindranath Tagore was very great news for the Indians. So, news, what is the news? You just see, the news is the same thing that the Nobel Prize in Literature 1913 was awarded to Rabindranath Tagore. So, that Nobel Prize in Literature 1913 was awarded to Rabindranath Tagore. This part is the news. That is why the news is the noun phrase and that clause is here the opposition, in opposition to the noun phrase the news, right. Opposition means they both these things are same thing, and was very great, that means the news was very great news for the Indians in the British period. And what is the news? That the Nobel Prize in Literature, right. Now, come to that C.V. Raman was the Nobel Prize winner for physics in 1913 is well known to every Indian. So, you know C.V. Raman is one of the most eminent scientists of our country. So, he was also awarded the Nobel Prize, and that C.V. Raman was the Nobel Prize winner for physics in 1913 is well known to every Indian. So, this is the first part and that is the subject that occupies the subject part. Please one dekho, each that clause here, एठारे subject कर्ता जगार बसी सब्जेक्ट पार्ट को से ऑक्युपाई करिछि एवं तेणु से सब्जेक्ट रो काम करुछि किंतु तार रूप होछि दैट क्लॉज। तेणु आमे जेतेबेले क्लॉज विषय पढ़िबा सेतेबेले आमे दुईटा जिंस देखिबा से तार रूपटा कोन फॉर्मटा कोन केमती देखा जाउछि से डब्ल्यूएच रे आरंभ हेछि ना दैट रे आरंभ हेछि एवं तार कामटा कोन करुछि से एठी को काम करुछि से कर्ता काम करुछि कि कर्म काम करुछि से सब्जेक्ट कि ऑब्जेक्ट कि कॉम्प्लीमेंट कि अपोजिशन को काम करुछि देखिबा। तेणु इन सेंटेंस नंबर 3 the that clause, the noun clause that functions like the subject in the sentence. Now come to sentence number 4. It is a fact that Kailash Satyarthi was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace in 2014, right. So, it is a fact that, it is a fact, this is the main clause, that Kailash Satyarthi was awarded the Nobel Prize for the Peace in 2014, that clause or the noun clause, and that is also the complement actually to the subject. So, actually that is the complement to the subject it. So, it is a fact means that Kailash Satyarthi was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace in 2014 is a fact, right. So, number 5, can you tell me when Mother Teresa won the Nobel Prize for Peace, right? Can you tell me? So, this is for you, you go and find it out, right. So, can you tell me when Mother Teresa won the Nobel Prize for Peace? So, can you tell me the first part is the main clause, and when Mother Teresa won the Nobel Prize, that begins with WH word, when WH clause, and also that is the object in the sentence. Me is one object, and when Mother Teresa won the Nobel Prize for Peace, that is another object. So, can you tell me this? Can you tell me it? Most of the time, if you replace the noun clauses by using a pronoun it this, then you will be able to know that that is the object of the sentence. Number 6, everybody knows that Amartya Sen was the Nobel Prize winner for economic sciences in 1998. So, my dear students, now you see everybody knows that Amartya Sen was the Nobel Prize winner for economic sciences in 1998. So, again no verb again requires an object, that is why here the that clause functions like an object, right. So, my dear students, you know now what is a noun clause and what are their functions. Then we will do some exercises. This is one of the exercises which has been given in our textbook, and it will help us to clarify our doubts what we have already discussed. So, dear children, look at the screen. Activity 2, use red color for the main clauses and single lines under subordinate clauses in the following sentences. Ignore coordinate clauses, right. So, ignore coordinate clauses. So, I cannot express how sorry I am. Do you know when the next train arrives? Jack fell down and he broke his crown. All the glitters is not gold. All depends on how the work is done. He says that his mother is ill. It is feared that he will not help us. He told me that he was ready. So, let us go to the answers. I cannot express, this is the main clause, red color. How sorry I am, right, this is the subordinate clause. Do you know when the next train arrives? Do you know, this is the main part, red color part. When the WH clause, that is a subordinate clause. Jack fell down and he broke his crown. So, Jack fell down, this is the main clause, and he broke his crown, this is the actually this is again an independent clause, but this is coordinate clause, right. So, I have not underlined the coordinate clause. All that glitters is not gold. So, all is not gold, that glitters, you just see, all is not gold, this is the main part, that glitters, that is the subordinate clause. All depends on how the work is done, all depends on, right, this is the first part, main clause, and how work is done, this is the clause, subordinate clause. He says that his mother is ill. So, that his mother is ill, that is the subordinate clause, he says is the first part, main clause. It is feared that he will not help us, it is feared, the main clause, first part, and that you will not, that is the that clause, and the sentence is a complex sentence. Number 8, he told me that he was ready. He told me, this is the first part, main clause, and the that clause is in the form with the relative pronoun that, and that is a subordinate clause. So, let us again discuss clearly how the noun clauses they function in the sentences, right. So, now let us see how noun clauses function in the following sentences. We have 3 sentences. What he says is correct, that his father has come home is true, whether he will stay here for more than a week depends on a lot of things. So, in all these sentences, the italicized expressions are noun clauses working as the subjects of the sentences. Now, you see what he says, first part subject, that his father has come, subject of the sentence, whether he will stay here for more than a week, the first part, that is the subject of the sentences. So, in all the 3 sentences, the noun clauses are in the sentences they function like subjects, but they are in different forms, WH form, that form, right, and the clauses are WH clauses and that clauses, but they function the same function, that is the subject of the sentence, right. Now, come to how the noun clauses they function like complement of the sentence, right. You just see, let us see how noun clauses function. The difficulty was how we would arrange the font. The problem is we do not have any money, right. In these sentences the italicized expressions are noun clauses and they work like complements. So, my dear children, you just see the difficulty was, so when we have a be verb, he is a doctor, he is the subject and is a doctor, that is a doctor is the complement, is the verb, and here what happens, the difficulty was is the be verb, when we have a be verb the next part is the complement, right. The problem is subject and is what, now we do not have any money, this is the complement. So, noun clauses they function like complements. Noun clauses they function like objects of the prepositions. You should pay attention to what I say, right. ମୁଁ ଯାହା କହୁଛି ତୁମେ ଟିକେ attention ଦେଇକି ଶୁଣ, right. There is no meaning in what you say, in, to, I have no objection to whatever you say. So, to, in, to तापरे जो क्लॉज गुडी को बसिछि से गुडी को से फंक्शन करूछि, ऑब्जेक्ट रे फंक्शन करूछि, कहार ऑब्जेक्ट ना प्रीपोजिशन आमे पढिछे, वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड जे प्रीपोजिशन पर जेमति आमे ऑन द टेबल, टू हिम जेमति आमे ताकू नाउन फ्रेज गुडा को ऑब्जेक्ट को, ए गुडी को सिमति नाउन क्लॉज गुडी को ऑब्जेक्ट, एंड हियर द नाउन क्लॉजेस से फंक्शन लाइक ऑब्जेक्ट्स. एंड नाउ in opposition, the news that his father has come is true. So, the news is true. What is the news? That his father has come. This is the opposition, means news. संबादरा जहाँ ता पापा आसीचंती बा से झियोटी नाचिची भलो से एका जिनिस, तेणु दुईटी जाक आमे एठी कहबा opposition, in opposition. Here in opposition to the noun phrase, and now you see here in opposition to the subject. It is true that his father has come. What is true? His father has come. इट बदल रे आमे हिज फादर लगे परिबा, तेनु एठी ए जोटा को आमे कहबा नाउन क्लॉज, दैट हिज फादर हैज कम, दैट हिज फादर डज नॉट कम होम मोर ऑफन, ए जिंस गुडी को आमे इट जगह बसई परिबा, तेनु ए गुडी को इट पई बा अपोजिशन टू द सब्जेक्ट बोली कहा जाय. सो हियर द नाउन क्लॉजेस दे आर फंक्शनिंग और दे आर वर्किंग लाइक अपोजिशंस टू द सब्जेक्ट्स, राइट. So, dear children, we discussed different functions of the noun clauses, and we also discussed noun clauses, they appear in the sentences in different forms. Sometimes they begin with that relative pronouns, sometimes they begin with whether or if, sometimes they begin with WH words. So, in different forms they function differently. Let us go to the exercises so that we can have a better practice and we can know more about noun clauses at the time of discussing the exercises, right. Let us go to activity number 1. So, look at the screen. Activity 1, underline the noun clauses in following sentences. Mention whether they work as subject, object, complement, object of preposition or in opposition to another noun or pronoun, right. So, I am just going to read out the questions first, then we will discuss one after another. So, listen to me and look at the sentences. Number 1, it is not clear who has done it. Number 2, you know how hard she works. Number 3, that he is honest is known to all. Number 4, the film depends on how it ends. Number 5, I am glad to hear it, Mistress Bethy said. Number 6, my decision is that he must help you. Number 7, what is in our fate cannot be avoided. Next sentence, the matter is that they have cheated us. Next one, Shanti did not know that her uncle had come. Next one, number 10, can you tell me who wrote the Ramayana? Number 11, no one can say how the war will come to an end. Number 12, Mr. Gupta promised that he would put some flowers on her brother's grave. So, this is all about the 12 sentences. We will examine one after another and we can clarify our doubts very clearly, right. So, let us go to the answers. Number 10, it is not clear who has done it. So, my dear students, you just look at the sentence, it is not clear who has done it. Who has done it? This is the underlined part, this is the clause, this is a noun clause and it functions like a position of the subject. Why? Now, I am just going to the board and you will look at it, so that you will be very clear about it. The sentence is, it is not clear who has done it, right. So, it is not clear who has done it. Right. So, now you look at the sentence. So, who has done it? This is the clause, right, and it is not clear. This is the main clause, main clause, or what we say principal clause, and this is the subordinate clause. And this subordinate clause is a noun clause, right. So, this is also a noun clause. And what is its function? So, what is its form? As we have already discussed, the form is WH form. It begins with a WH what? The question is, what is its function? It is very difficult to understand the function, because grammarians are also in different opinions for this sentence. That is why I wrote this sentence on the board, right. So, as it is given in your textbook, if you follow your textbook, the principle which has been given, then it is the subject here, right, and who has done it, this part can be used here. We can write here that, you just see, who has done it, who has done it is not clear. That is why this who has done it, right, this clause can be used in place of it and in place of this subject. A subject बदल रे ए जगह आमे बसई परिबा. सेति they say that this is the opposition to subject. So, this is the what is the function? Opposition कहले जेतबेले एका भलिया काम करिवो क्लॉज टा बा फ्रेज टा आउट नाउन फ्रेज भलिया काम करिवो दीटा सेम होथिबे सेटा जहा एटा सेया इट जहा एठी who has done it, the same thing. That is why the function is here opposition to the subject, in opposition to subject. So, my dear students, this is very important sentence, that is why I discussed it, putting the sentence on the blackboard. Let us go to the second sentence. You know how hard she works. So, how hard she works, this is the clause, and this is, you know, we have already discussed, whenever we have a no verb, the next clause is, that is the object, and here the noun clause functions like object. That he is honest is known to all. That he is honest, that occupies the clause, that clause occupies the place of the subject, and its function is the subject function. The film depends on how it ends. This is object to the preposition, right. Suppose I say, just I am going to write one sentence, you just see why we should say that this is object to the preposition, you can better understand. Suppose I write, the pen is on the table. We have already discussed, I remind of the previous discussion, this is the preposition, this is the noun phrase, right. And here the table and the pen, actually this preposition relates to these two noun phrases, this is also a noun phrase and this is the subject, right. So, this noun phrase is called the object to the preposition. So, when we have a preposition, the object is this noun phrase is called the object to the preposition, we have already discussed, right. So, dear students, the film depends on how it ends, here on is the preposition and how it ends, this noun clause is the object to the preposition. Let us go to the next sentence. I am glad to hear it, Mistress Betty said. So, Mistress Betty said what? I am glad to hear it. This noun clause here functions like the object of the verb. My decision is that he must help you, that he must help you, this is the complement, be verb is there. When there is a be verb, the next part is the complement. He is a doctor is the complement. So, here that must help you, this is the complement of the verb. What is in our fate? Again that is the subject part, and this function of the noun clause is the subject, right. The matter is that they have cheated us, again that is used, or the that clause, the noun clause that comes or that follows the be verb, that is the complement. Shanti did not know, again the no verb is there. When we have a no verb, the noun clause is used or which follows the no verb, that is the object. Can you tell me, again tell me, tell is a verb that needs two objects, me and something. So, tell me who wrote the Ramayana. So, two objects and who wrote the Ramayana is the object, here noun clause functions like an object. No one can say how the war will. So, can say requires an object, right. Mr. Gupta promised that he would put some flowers on her brother's grave. Again promised what? So, promised something, promised it, that is why the noun clause is here is the object of the verb. So, my dear children, we have already discussed what is a complex sentence, the structure of sentences and the structure of a complex sentence, the subordinate clauses, and we have also discussed different forms of the noun clauses and how the different forms like the that form and the that clauses and the WL clauses, how they function differently, or they have different types of functions in the sentences. And I think you have understood all these things. So, you have 4 exercises in this chapter. Please do all these exercises and you can have a better practice, you can understand better. And I think you understand most of the things. So, the time is going to be over. Thank you very much. Goodbye.